Hey everybody, welcome back to the Knowledge Broker Podcast. I'm Joshua Campbell, your host, and joining me as always is...
Trish Riswick!
Yay!
Surprise, surprise! I'm back again!
Yes. So, how was your weekend?
I had a lovely weekend.
Yeah?
We had a client event this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we were outside with a bunch of our friends and clients.
Yeah, fantastic time.
It was lovely weather.
Yeah.
Thus far, our fall has been nothing but great with the weather.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little bit of rain, but besides that, all in all, pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, the event went really well, and I think everybody had an absolutely fantastic time, and we're still, it takes you a couple weeks to kind of like come out of stuff like that because you ramp up, and then all of a sudden it's like Christmas, and then you got to take all the decorations down.
Oh my God,
and then
don't even talk to me about Christmas.
It's coming.
I'm not there yet. I am not there yet.
I know a few people that have already put their Christmas tree up. And if you're listening right now, you know who you are.
Shame on you. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's not even Halloween.
I won't even disclose their names. Not even worth it.
Kate?
But people that know them, they know that they're Christmas tree people.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
Well, as we said last week, we love talking about our failures.
Yep.
Especially when, they're funny or, you can learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I learned about myself just after watching last week's podcast is that I said exactly 17 times. And I said absolutely 9 times. I've discovered that I might be too agreeable.
Oh.
Because I was watching it back and I'm like, oh, wow, I say exactly a lot. And then I was like, oh, I say absolutely a lot. So I'm going to catch myself today.
I wonder if you do that to keep the conversation moving ahead.
I wonder, but it's just one of those words that's like, it just sticks out to me so much that I'm like, I'm onto it now.
I'm the kind of person that says, yeah, and that's my continuation. Or I go, I agree.
Yeah.
I use those probably too a lot.
You do K a lot too, I've noticed. Like,
Okay.
you don't do like, okay, you do K.
Okay.
And I was like, and it's because like, I'll be like typing out the subtitles and I'll be like, do I just put a K or should I put okay? Or do I put the full okay? Yeah.
Interesting.
Another thing that I realized about myself is that I used a made up word last week, but sold it like it was a real word.
Oh.
Mentalize is not a word.
Mentalize.
Mentalize is not a word.
Mentalize.
Metalize is a word.
Mentalize. What were you trying to say?
I was thinking you have to like visualize or mentalize. And I said it with the confidence
Visualize, I guess, would be
and the voom
Yeah.
of a real word. So,
or imagine, were you trying to say? Or visualize?
yeah, like
or
visualize
think
or
about?
something. Yeah, but it was one of those things that I'm pretty sure before we did our podcast, I was thinking about it. I'm like, that's a really good word. Like, I should use that word. Not a word.
You
Not
just
a
admitted
word.
your failure.
I did, exactly.
Well done.
There. Oh, damn, I did it. Ugh! We're only like a minute in.
You know what I found interesting? There's a few people that were talking about the podcast and a couple other people in business that I know that they're talking about failures and successes. One of the gentlemen that piped in to a comment on a feed had said that failures are bad. Failures are not good. Failures are failures. Admit them as failures. There's nothing good about them. And I kind of chimed in and I was like, no, if you think that way, then you're always going to be fearing a failure. I think that the only way to really succeed is to know what failures are.
Yeah.
And you can embrace them, not necessarily go after failure, but at the same time, if you don't appreciate them, then you're going to go through life really unhappy.
Yeah.
Because every single time you have a failure, you're going to be super hard on yourself. And maybe he wasn't meaning that, but the way that he wrote it, which is really tough, because when it comes to text, you don't know what you're like.
Yeah,
you
the
don't necessarily know what
context of it or the
perception.
tone.
Sure, interesting thought though.
Yeah.
How he thought that failures were absolutely bad and terrible and not good, versus embrace them and realize that they're just a fact of life.
They're an opportunity.
Sure.
They're not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Moving on.
All right.
This
Was that enough banter? Now we got to get to the real good stuff.
Yeah, now we got to
today.
get to the grit of the episode.
All right.
So this episode is inspired by the quote that I read last week because it was one of the biggest secrets to success is us operating inside our strength zone but outside our comfort zone. And that was by Ralph Heath. I mentioned this last week in regards to failures as success.
Mm-hmm.
After our episode, I went on Instagram, as I usually do, and I saw Grammy award-winning singer-songwriter Pink. She put something on Instagram saying that your comfort zone will kill you. And it was like, wow, all these things around me are talking about comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then I read something else that was like your like something along the lines of kill your comfort zone before it kills you.
Oh,
and
I like
and I
that.
was like, oh my gosh, we have to talk about this because Halloween's in a couple days. So I thought, why not talk about murder in our podcast? So this week we're talking about murdering your comfort zone, people.
All right.
We're plotting the murder. So
Okay.
comfort zones are huge in business and in personal life. So to get this conversation rolling, what is it about comfort zones that you think can kill a business or, like, theoretically kill us?
I look at comfort zones as if you're in your comfort zone, it's what you know.
Yeah.
Outside your comfort zone is what you don't know. Simple as that. A lot of people don't like doing things they don't know. So, but how do you grow?
Yeah.
And how do you grow in general? How does a business grow? How does a person grow without doing things they don't know? If you continue to do the things that only you know, you're staying there. Ultimately, people will expand their comfort zones, and chances are they're going to probably get in on yours. So if you continue to only do your comfort zone, chances are you're putting your business at risk. But you also, as a person, aren't growing to the point that you're adapting and becoming an even more well-rounded person.
Yeah.
So when I think of like comfort zone, and you said the comment earlier about in your strengths, in a perfect world, we would get into our comfort zones or out of it, into new or expand it.
Yeah.
With where we have strength, not necessarily weakness. That would be a perfect world. But at the same time, if we get into comfort zones where we have weakness, it's an opportunity to get stronger with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, naturally, we probably fall into the strength sides because that's what we would choose to do. We probably, not by choice, fall into the weakness sides. But that's not necessarily a time to give up. It's more of a time to really learn because it's probably something you absolutely know nothing about.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because that's the thing with you could get stagnant and you don't ever want to be stagnant, right?
Agreed.
So, from my point of view, I think also comfort zones, basically, you're not taking the step forward. You're basically on a staircase and you can see the next step, but when you're in your comfort zone, you won't ever take that next step.
Sure.
So I kind of compared it to a bad relationship. When you're in your when you're in your comfort zone, much like a bad relationship, you don't realize that you're in it until you're out of it. So, like with bad relationships, when you're in them and your friends are like, wow, that guy sucks or that girl sucks, blah, blah, blah. You're like, no. And then as soon as you get out of it, you're like, oh my God, who was I? Like that was awful. Like they treated me so bad and all that kind of stuff. That's the way that I view comfort zones. I view them as, they're safe, but they're not good. They're not for you and you don't grow with them, right? And also, comfort zones are dream killers. They absorb us for years and years until finally we either A, break from them, or B, we don't.
It's really challenging to know when you're in them.
It is,
This
absolutely.
is one of the biggest, toughest parts about life. Is I feel like when I get in my comfort zone, I don't necessarily find myself being bored, but it's definitely down that road.
Yeah.
You get down that road of fidgety, trying to find something else to do. You probably fill your time with crap.
Yeah, meaningless stuff.
You probably find yourself going into some bad habits or back to bad habits that you've had in the past. So often, like when I find myself just sitting in the comfort zone, it's not all that comfortable for me.
Yeah.
Well, I find it's detrimental.
Absolutely. So on that note then, what is an example of a comfort zone that you've had over the years?
I don't do it much. I try not to. I practice
even
constantly.
when you were a kid or something. Was there anything that you found that you...
Sure. I think that a lot of it would come down to repetitive nature.
Yeah.
So if I found myself constantly getting into a routine, super routine to the point that I say you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you come home, you cut the lawn, you hang out with your kids, and then if you don't have enough time for something in that world, something has to give up. So I find when I'm in my comfort zone, it's because I'm doing everything the exact same way every single day.
Interesting. Okay.
And then as soon as I realize that I'm unhappy with, say, life or something that's going on in life, it's ultimately looking at your routine and what you do on a daily basis. So that is your comfort zone because it's been working for you for a long time. But then all of a sudden you get bored or complacent,
Yeah.
stagnant, as you said. And then as soon as I see that, it's like, okay, time to make a change. So I'll look at the routine and see, okay, is there something that I'm not doing that I want to do?
Yeah.
Is there something that I'm doing right now that I don't want to do anymore?
Yeah.
So it's either like adding something, replacing something, taking something away completely, delegating, whatever it may be. But definitely looking at what you do and then adding and subtracting.
Yeah. I found for me, just some examples of things that I've done well into my life is I used to work in restaurants. When I was in university, I would only work in restaurants because I knew I could work in restaurants. I was good in restaurants. I was a hard worker when I was working in restaurants. So, I mean, even when I got this job, like, I still applied to restaurant positions even though I knew I didn't want them.
Yeah.
Just because I knew I was good at them. And so if worse came to worse, I knew I'd succeed in them. That was one of my comfort zones. And then wearing a lot of black. I know this sounds so stupid considering I'm wearing black tights today, but
I'm in blackish.
Yes, you're blackish, but that was one of the things I find too is that I don't know if it's a lady thing because I know some women have things about black is slimming or whatever, but I'll wear a lot of black sometimes because I don't know how certain colors will look in certain areas.
Sure.
Or I'll get nervous about wearing colors. I'm like, what if I wear light and then something spills on me and then I'll have to walk around with it all day? So it's like, that's just another comfort zone that I'll get myself into where it's like, I'll wear black for like 3 days and I'll be like, who am I? This is not who I am.
There's comfort zones everywhere.
Exactly. But it's important to recognize them and be able to get out of them.
With cereal in the morning, breakfast.
Yeah.
Often we find ourselves eating the exact same thing. Not necessarily healthy, not necessarily bad for us either, but at the same time, it is such routine-y that we don't even open up our eyes to other opportunities. And then before you know it, if we do, life can become a little bit more enjoyable just by tweaking the odd little thing.
Exactly. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is like 6 steps to changing your comfort zones. And then the best part is...
Buckle up, everybody.
Yeah, seriously, like... tie in for this one. But also what you get out of changing your comfort zones, because you might not realize that by changing your comfort zone, or at least getting rid of it or moving out of it for a period of time, there's so much reward to it that a lot of it's like so subconscious that you don't even realize you're doing it. So let's talk about the steps to killing your comfort zone.
Okay.
Is there any tips that you have that you've ever used to killing your comfort zones?
I trick myself
into
not fearing new comfort zone areas. I trick myself into actually seeking them out and enjoying them. You'll be surprised how when you do something once, the first time you do it's the scariest thing in the world. A lot of people say that.
Yeah.
I look at the scariest thing in the world as like I'm super excited to not be scared, to not fear it ever again.
Yeah.
So I'm a big person that goes around trying to eliminate my fears.
So you go towards your fears. You don't go away from them.
Yeah, 100%.
That's really interesting.
And often getting out of your comfort zone is the fear factor. So I go after the fears out of excitement, and then I'm no longer scared of it. And I feel like it gives me a more of a calming nature, a personal calming nature, because I try to eliminate my fears as much as I possibly can.
Yeah. So when you do that, do you go at it like 100%, or are you like?
Almost always.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we made the comment last week. And I don't know if it came out the exact way that I meant in regards to failures. And I said I fail all the time. I fail all the time because I do push myself to the comfort zone. And when I say I fail all the time, I have a lot of successes.
Yeah.
They far outweigh the failures, but at the same time, I have a lot of failures and a lot of successes, but only because I push myself to that fear line. If you don't get there and you don't try things you've never done before, how are you going to know if you're any good at them in the first place?
Yeah, it's very true.
And how are you going to know if you're going to enjoy them?
Yeah, because you might. And I think that's the scariest thing of all, is that you do something and you're like, what if I really like this?
Do you ever meet those people that say no to almost everything because they don't want to do something they've ever done before?
Yeah, or that is outside their comfort zone. They know themselves that they would say, oh, I know I won't like that.
You say to them, you could be out for dinner. Why don't you try? Have you ever tried that? Oh, no.
Yeah.
And they could be or have you been on this trip? Have you gone here? Have you gone there? And no. And you're like, and you kind of like, I honest to God find those people really hard to relate with. because it's almost like they're not necessarily boring to me, but at the same time, they're not super stimulating where they're super outgoing to try new things.
Yeah.
I get it. If someone hates something, that's fair, but to simply say I'm not trying new things, that's almost like sitting in your comfort zone. And it's almost it affects yourself, but also affects everybody around you, because before you know it, they know that you're not going to change. And a lot of people want to be around people that do embrace change.
Yeah.
And then ultimately you find yourself probably in this lonely world because you're not getting yourself out of your comfort zone. So I think it's definitely something, a way that people should live.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's something that's so clearly identifiable with people. Like, you know, instantly if someone's very much stuck in their way, stuck in their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it does, I mean, I can definitely think about myself and some of my relationships that I've had, even just with friends and stuff. You have a friend and then they get stuck in their ways, and then you realize, oh wow, they're never going to change. And change is one of those things that's inevitable. We have to accept those. And that's why, you know, sometimes we lose friends and we get out of touch. We changed in different ways, or one of us changed and one of us didn't. And that's just the circle of life.
Yeah.
It's just circle of life.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to our steps. Here's a few more steps to help you break out of your comfort zone.
Okay.
So the first one is start slow. Very simple. Change your daily routine. And this could be your cereal, you know, one morning you have oatmeal, the next morning you have eggs, you know, something like that. Or it could be just taking a different route to work. I know for myself, when I was working downtown, I tried to walk to school and work every single day because I only lived maybe a half an hour away, right? And I found that the days that I took routes that weren't my normal one, or the one that was straight to the school or straight to work, were the days that I actually felt more clear-headed. They were the days that I felt less stressed out.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing about comfort zones, and my biggest problem with them is that comfort zones do reduce your stress and your anxiety because they're a routine. You know how to get from point A to point B, straight line, or somewhat regardless.
Yeah.
But when you just do little things that change it up a little bit, and again, if you know stress or anxiety is something that you struggle with, start small. Just start by making slight little changes in your routine, whether it's, you know, shower at night instead of in the morning, or, you know, brush your teeth before you have breakfast, which sounds weird, but my dad does that. But, you know, maybe brush your teeth after. Oh, well, there you go, right? So
I get it out of the way.
Exactly. You know, it saves you a trip from going to the kitchen and back. Yeah, just something like that is very simple and very adaptable. And again, just has to be something small.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, sure.
I like exactly what you said in regards to start small. It's funny how the smallest things could be the biggest things. If you just changed up, as you said, your daily routine of how you drove or got to work, or, it does. I think your brain, and I'd love to ask my brother this question because he does neuroscience, and I think the brain literally will pick up the fact that there's a new stimulation, new environment, and I think that it's not thinking about dread, like the things you're dreading about for the day, because your brain's actually going like, oh, this is new, this is
like,
new,
oh, I've never seen that before.
Sure. And it's a very in an unconscious way to help your brain consciously.
Interesting. Yeah, I do. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I 100% think our brains do get stimulated by that kind of stuff.
Sure.
The next one. Now, this is one I'm kind of excited about because this is like kind of like you have to be one or the other. So if you are, the step is slow down or speed up. So if you are one of those people that make rash decisions, you're very much live in the moment kind of person, slow down. If you're one of those people like me who likes planning things out, organizing everything, speed up. By putting yourself in the opposite position, you're allowing your brain to do something that it's never doesn't often do.
Yeah.
And you're also making yourself very uncomfortable. So for me, I don't like making rash decisions. I like making very calculated decisions. I mean, for example, I went to New Zealand for a couple months at the beginning of this year, and I planned out every single day because I wanted to make sure I filled every single day with things that I wanted to do. But when I was there was a couple of times where it was very much like on my feet kind of thing, like yes or no, should we do this?
Which one was more enjoyable?
For me, the planning was.
Okay.
I like planning stuff. But the things that were at spur of the moment were also a lot of fun too. I mean,
sometimes they're the ones that get talked about later because you feel like you're like, and then all of a sudden we went over here and we did this and we weren't even expecting it.
Yeah.
Those ones, the unexpected, sometimes far more exciting.
Exactly. And we did have a couple that were 100% like that. But it wasn't one of those instances for myself personally, being put in the position where you didn't plan this, but we need to make a decision right now if we're doing it.
Sorry, do you have a spot in there that says give up control?
Yeah, actually I do.
Sounds like that.
Yeah,
A
a little bit. You're
speed and slow down for sure.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
I do too. The next one is fake it till you feel it. So again, if you are maybe not the most confident person or a little insecure, I mean, a lot of us have insecurities about a lot of different things. Everybody does, regardless if it's like, you know, for me, I don't like going to big like box store gyms because I feel a little out of place there. But I have been. And the way I did it was I faked it until I felt it. So I have a friend who lives in Texas and she goes to one of these gyms all the time. So when I was there, I was like, oh, I want to hang out with you. So I'll go to the gym with you. But of course, like she's like supermodel fit and like gorgeous. And I'm just not like that right now. So when I went though, I went in and I was like, okay, I'm going to own this. You know, I had my head up, I put my gym clothes on, I put my running shoes on, I had my water bottle, I had my headphones, whatever. And I walked in with my head held high. And I was like, I'm going to fake it until, you know, I feel like I belong here. And after like the second day of doing that, I was like, the third day, I was like, oh, I'm not afraid anymore. Yeah. I don't need to be afraid of this. I've got my buddy with me. You know, she's there to help me and do whatever.
Just saying, try it.
Yeah, just say, you know,
like just try it. Like even if you pick up a badminton racket you never played before in your life.
Yeah.
Even if you like at least fake swinging it. Yeah. I mean, like, or fake enjoying it.
Yeah.
Chances are you probably might start to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
being open-minded is by far probably the most important thing. It's almost like it's a muscle.
Yeah.
Where if you start being open-minded, you become open-minded on a bunch of things. But if you don't start on something small, like going to the gym, you're not going to be open-minded to anything else. It's closed offness.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I had to get rid of. I had to get rid of that idea
good for you.
of
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, have I gone to a gym here? Nope. Because I
still don't like it. At least you did choice.
Don't like it.
That's not comfort zone necessarily. If you don't like something, that's different than comfort zone.
Exactly. I did it, and I didn't like it, so I won't do it again. Yeah. But I found something that I do like, and I like going there. So
as long as it wasn't out of your as long as it wasn't because of comfort zone.
No, okay. It's purely because I don't like being around so much masculinity.
Yeah. You got that
one. And then yes, the next one is give up control. So if you are a control freak, head of the house, head of the business or whatever, this one is kind of applicable to both aspects of your life. So for example, say if you're like the head of the household, being able to give up some of your control to maybe your partner, your spouse, maybe your children, just letting them do something and take over the something. In business, it could be delegating, it could be outsourcing, it could be hiring someone to fill or to do things that will save you time. Yeah. Just giving up some of that control is it's hard.
Yeah. Can I add to that too?
Of course you can.
It's trusting others.
Yeah.
Giving up control is trusting that someone else is going to pick it up for you. Giving up control is trusting that it's going to get done. Mm-hmm. Giving up control is literally trusting the world in the universe that it's going to take care of itself.
Yeah.
It's not up to you completely at all times.
Exactly. And that's why when you give up control, you are allowing yourself to be potentially vulnerable. You're letting someone else take the wheel for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that can be challenging,
sure.
But it's something that we will need to do eventually.
Yeah, 100%.
We do on a daily basis and may not even realize.
Yeah.
The fifth one is revisit some of your past accomplishments. So when you first think about just everyone at home, think about what your biggest accomplishment in life might have been. What got you there was probably a lot of courage to put yourself out there and do something, put yourself out there and be vulnerable to, your failures, your successes outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
100%. If you find that you're very stagnant and you're stuck in your comfort zone, or again, you might not even realize, like you said, you're in your comfort zone, just think back to your first accomplishment and see where your mind was in that moment.
Yeah.
How were you feeling? How did it feel when you achieved it?
Yeah.
Because that courage is what's going to lead you to your next accomplishment. And without that courage, you're going to be stuck in your comfort zone.
I wonder sometimes, that made me think of this, and it could apply or could not. There's a lot of people that think, and I'm a true believer that often what got you here is not going to get you to get you there. Meaning, if people rely on maybe even past courage, which is what you said, and I'm not trying to contradict, but I'm trying to learn. If they only relied on past courage, the past courage only got them here. If you want to get to here, you're going to have to find something new. So it's almost like if we get in our comfort zone where we just rely on our past experiences or rely on the energy that we used before to get us here, that only got us here. That's why we're sitting. If we want to get to the next level, the next level, the next level, we have to realize, well, what got us here is not going to get us there.
Yes.
So we almost have to be, you have to be willing to adapt and be willing to move and be willing to grow, because if you don't, you're literally going to get stuck. You're stuck.
Yes. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that you need, just what I was trying to explain is that with your accomplishments, if you feel like you are stuck, just look at how it felt.
Yes.
How did it feel when you hit that accomplishment? Exactly.
Over the top.
Exactly. So that's what I want to.
I see.
I want to say is
100%.
that absolutely. I completely agree with you that you can't just do exactly the same thing to get you to the same feeling where you are. Because
you meant go back to the feeling.
Go back to the feeling, exactly. Because if think about it like a nice little circle, and you're stuck in your circle, you could probably get to the outside again. Yeah. If you go with exactly what you did last time, but you won't get outside.
It's like going on a roller coaster. You're sitting there, I'm not going on that, and you go on it. You're like, that was the best ride, do it again.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. It's you need to just look at how that felt and then chase that feeling again. Yeah. The next one I have and the last one is ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? Just ask yourself that question. Yeah. Because guaranteed there's not a lot, like the worst that could happen is, you don't enjoy it, you didn't get the job, you couldn't find the person that you wanted, or again, very mundane things. Not
life or death.
Not fatal things, right? So just ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? And 10 out of 10, it's probably like you just aren't going to enjoy it, or you just didn't get it, or you just failed.
Yeah, most of the time, like the ideology behind that is so simple, yet so many people just don't pull the trigger. Yeah. If you turn around and they say you went out with friends and you're all eating, I have no idea, Korean barbecue, and you're at a Korean barbecue place and they have like the food on the fryer right in front of you and you can cook it, and then there's someone else that it's like, I'll just get the pre-cooked thing. I don't want to try that. Yeah. And then maybe they don't trust themselves by trying it. Maybe they just don't want to try something new. What's the worst thing that happens? You try one, you don't like it, you don't have to eat anymore. Get your next dish. Yeah. Fall back into your comfort zone all day long. It's always there. You can literally sit back and it's there at all times. If you try something, just realize that you can go right back. Yeah. It's not a big deal at the same time, but if you don't try it, you're never going to expand it.
It's very true. And that's the thing, when you just like poke your head over this imaginary circle, you can sink back into it if you want, or you could just expand your circle a little bit. Yep. And then your circle gets a little bit bigger. Sure.
Stronger growth.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. Growth doesn't happen without taking a few risks and getting outside your comfort zone. Exactly. So yeah, those are some of the steps, and I'm glad you added the chase your fears, because I think that's also amazing. Now I want to talk about, what do you get when you break out of your comfort zone? Is there anything that you personally feel?
Oh, I think we just kind of said it. The not being afraid of something and being able to say you've done something. I don't know if necessarily in life we're supposed to say I've done a lot, but it definitely feels good to have said you've done a lot, or to have at least done a lot. Whether it's traveling the world, that's kind of nice. Some people want to only move from like their couch to the front door to their car, and then that's it. I mean, if that's their thing and that's their choice, to each their own. But as long as that's their choice, if someone chooses that they don't want to go to the gym, a big gym, if that's their choice, it is what it is. I'm tend to believe that if you do get out of your comfort zone, I feel like you'll have a lot more life enjoyment. So and contentment, and you're always your body's constantly in a state of change where it never has much fear. So I believe that my anxiety level goes down a lot because I do go after fears. So I believe that anxiety is just that. Yeah. It is just fear. So if you chase your fears, ultimately they're going to be eliminated. Yeah. And then you live a lot more of a calmer life, especially when shit hits the fan, because it does in life. And when it does, if you face it head on, it doesn't scare you as much, and you go back into a calmer state.
Yeah. You know what does scare me? Shit actually hitting a fan. That would be terrifying. That would be
disgusting. I'm glad that someone used that term.
It's one of those terms I think about often. I'm like,
there's the visualization.
Yeah, right. I was like, who was the one who thought of that one? Yeah. But yeah, some other things that I yeah, now I've painted a picture in your heads, haven't I? Yeah. Some other things that you get out of it are, you find new skills. you find new passions, you know, with the Korean
yeah.
barbecue analogy. It's
Sure.
like, maybe you didn't, you're very much a simple person. You didn't think you would like it. And then you try
Sure.
and you're like, oh my God, this is
And
amazing.
then you talk about it with your friends.
And then you go to every Korean barbecue place in your
Yeah.
city.
Now you're a pro.
Yeah, now that you can cook it, you've got
Sure.
the whole setup in your
Yeah.
house. It's like you discover new things, and it only opens opportunities up for you,
Yeah.
right? Another thing that I realize is that your productivity gets boosted because when you introduce more things, especially in business type talk, when you introduce more things into your daily routines or your, I guess, whatever you do overall, like your activities, it can make you excited. I mean, for us, just starting this podcast, it's just something we can
scary at the beginning.
Very scary.
Still scary, but
still
getting
terrifying.
better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'd like to think we are.
I think we are, but it's something that we can look forward to every week now. But at the beginning, it's the idea of it, the concept of it, figuring out how is it going to work.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, I know for me, a lot of my week is built into doing the podcast and recording and editing and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of it I look forward to doing. Like, I love doing my research and I love actually doing it.
Yeah.
So it makes me more proactive and me doing things more productive. Sorry, that was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I accomplished too, I find. Like, I feel like when you do something that's outside your comfort zone, you have this sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Which is probably sometimes that feeling that we were talking about before. The feeling of when you did push yourself out of your comfort zone, what that feeling like to get to your accomplishments, finishing school, getting a job, getting your driver's license, buying your first car. All those senses of accomplishment is literally pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Literally. I can't emphasize it enough that if people don't get outside their comfort zone, they'll probably never have a sense of accomplishment.
Or they'll have very small senses of accomplishment. They won't, because.
But is it just replacing the same ones they already had, or are they actually getting new sense of accomplishments?
That's a very good point. You might just be. It's almost like just putting a fresh coat of paint on. It's just like, yeah, you've accomplished something, but it's not anything new. It's like you're just adding more things to the same section of your trophy cabinet. You're not making a new section. Okay, so then the other thing is that it helps you deal with change easier. And I find, and a lot, this is what we've talked about it too today, is just when you put yourself out there and you make yourself vulnerable to changes and to the elements of the world, you not only are allowing yourself to potentially get hurt, I guess is a better term.
There's chances.
Exactly. So it's but when that does happen, when other things happen that may or may not be in your control, I feel like you don't accept them a lot easier, but you deal with them a lot easier. Yeah. So that's the thing. By allowing yourself to be vulnerable when things happen to you, maybe when you are vulnerable or you're not vulnerable, whatever, I feel like you're more of a problem solver now. You can deal with it.
Think about podcasting. We've been doing this for a couple months now, and it's a vulnerability state. You put yourself out there that people can make fun of it. People could comment back and say that you guys are dumb. You're not saying anything smart. Sure. At the same time, now the funny thing is, people walk up and ask me, and probably yourself, "Oh, how did you even start that?
Yeah.
How did you get
Why
into
did
it?
you?
What do you do?
Yeah.
How do I do that?" And you're like, you get it now. It's a skill set. So yeah, advancing and getting out of your comfort zone allows you to adapt to change, but it just broadens your skill set.
So anyway, those are some of the tips. And I mean the pros of getting outside of your comfort zone. But again, like you said, there's nothing wrong with being in your comfort zone every now and again for small dips. Just don't make it last your life or your years, because as we said last time, life is short. You don't want to die or, anything, get old with so many dreams that you wish you had accomplished because you're like, tomorrow. You think, it reminds me back, I like the circular conversations. You said hope. If you have hope, I think that people that have hope are probably often looking to push their comfort zone a little bit. It does give them the opportunity to at least make their hopes and or dreams become reality. So if you want hopes and dreams to become reality, you can't just buy a lottery ticket. You have to go out there and do it. You can't cross your fingers and hope these things are going to happen. So back to hope, it is a little bit within our control to make it happen. We need to be courageous. We need to go after things that we want. If you want to go
High five to that.
Amen, sister. If you want to go to New
Brother.
Zealand, No,
I get it.
everyone's a sister to me.
Fair enough.
I refer to everything as something female.
Okay.
Anyway, besides the point. I was on a roll there, Joshua. If you want to go after something, go after it. I encourage everyone to do something today that you may have never done before. Be courageous, take ownership of your life, and just dip outside your comfort zone, guys. It's great. The lawn is greener on the other side of your comfort zone. I'm sorry, but that is true.
Agreed. 100%. I'm there.
Yeah. So just do it. Do something that's absolutely absurd. Call out yourself like I did today. I mean, I like calling out myself, so it's not really outside my comfort zone. But I embrace the fact that I think I said X exactly about 6 times on the podcast today.
Maybe less today. I said agreed a lot though. I got that one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, we're working on it. We're getting outside. Maybe next week I'll introduce a new word that I say all the time.
Be impressive.
Maybe we'll be impressive.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, that is it for our podcast today.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next Tuesday. I guess happy Halloween because it's almost Halloween.
Yeah.
So happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Bye.
Ciao. Thank you very much for stopping by our channel. If you have any questions or if you're looking to buy or sell, go to our website and contact us today. Knowledge is power and creates experts in understanding. If you want power, hit thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our channel so you can get weekly videos from me, your knowledge worker.